Is Pep Guardiola tactical genius or just the luckiest coach in history? The football world is split. Is he truly the greatest manager of all time or just a master with the best tools? Today we're diving headfirst into one of football's most heated debates. Is Pep's era-defining style and relentless trophy haul enough to crown him the GOAT, or do his critics have a point about big budgets and Champions League disappointments? Let's put it all on the table. On one side, you have Guardiola's supporters, pointing to his dazzling possession-based football, his record-breaking win rates, and a trophy cabinet that's the envy of the football world. On the other, skeptics argue that Pep has always managed the best squads and rarely faced the kind of adversity that defines true managerial greatness. So, what's the truth? Let's break it down. Nobody matches Pep's pace. His teams play football from the future. Positional play, inverted fullbacks, tiki-taka, and let's not forget, he's made superstars out of players like Messi, De Bruyne, and Foden. Pep's supporters argue he's not just winning, he's changing the game itself. Football is being played his way, not only by his teams, but by his rivals. Pep Guardiola's managerial record is one of the most decorated in modern football, but it is also one of the most debated. When compared to peers like Sir Alex Ferguson, Carlo Ancelotti, Jose Mourinho, and Jurgen Klopp, several key themes emerge. Trophy counts, Champions League achievements, especially with underdog or less favored teams, resource utilization, and the persistent argument that Guardiola has never built a dynasty on a shoestring budget or as a true underdog. Below, we expand on these points with comprehensive stats, facts, and relevant controversies. Pep Guardiola's supporters love to highlight his dazzling football and relentless success, but critics are quick to point out the financial muscle behind those achievements. But consider this. Pep's total career transfer spend is over $2 billion, the highest for any manager in history. At Manchester City, he's had the luxury of working with one of the world's biggest budgets, with net transfer outlays often exceeding $100 million per season and a wage bill regularly topping $300 million a year. And let's not forget his time at Barcelona and Bayern. Both clubs also boasted the highest wage bills and transfer budgets in their leagues. It's no wonder some argue that Guardiola's trophy haul is as much a product of deep pockets as tactical genius. He's never managed a true underdog, nor has he built a dynasty on a shoestring budget. Contrast that with other iconic managers. Sir Alex Ferguson began his United career without financial dominance, relying instead on youth development and a strong internal culture. Just look at his European triumphs with Aberdeen, achieved on a modest budget. Carlo Ancelotti has managed both wealthy and less wealthy clubs, but it's at the big spenders where he's lifted his biggest trophies. Jose Mourinho pulled off his greatest underdog feat at Porto, conquering Europe with a fraction of the resources enjoyed by the Giants. At Chelsea, Inter, and Real Madrid, he too had the benefit of significant spending power. Jurgen Klopp built Dortmund's golden era on a limited budget, focusing on developing youth and scouting undervalued talent. Even at Liverpool, his net spend has been moderate compared to City or United, with smart recruitment and player sales funding key signings. Pep Guardiola has 3 Champions League titles to his name, an achievement matched by Zinedine Zidane and surpassed by Carlo Ancelotti, who has 5. Yet, despite having some of the most expensive and talent-rich squads ever assembled at both Bayern and Manchester City, Pep has also suffered some painful exits on the continent's biggest stage. Critics ask, can you really call yourself the greatest if you haven't conquered Europe more times than your rivals? Notable examples. The infamous 0-4 home defeat with Bayern against Real Madrid, which Pep himself called a complete fuck-up. Or the shock loss to Lyon in 2020 after overcomplicating tactics. The pattern repeats. When the stakes are highest, critics accuse Guardiola of overthinking, making unnecessary changes that disrupt his team's flow. Guardiola's legacy is both dazzling and divisive, a blend of undeniable genius and extraordinary circumstances. His tactical fingerprints are everywhere in modern football. Concepts like positional play, inverted fullbacks, and the false nine. These aren't just trends, they're Pep's signature. At Manchester City, his teams average 60-70% possession, regularly completing over 600 passes per game with an accuracy above 88%. He turned fullbacks like João Cancelo and John Stones into auxiliary midfielders, a system now imitated by Arteta at Arsenal, Xabi Alonso at Leverkusen, and even national teams. His use of Messi as a false 9 at Barcelona changed attacking football forever, a tactic now seen at Liverpool, Spain, and even in his own City side with De Bruyne or Foden. The stats back up his influence. Since Pep's arrival in England, possession and passing numbers have climbed across the Premier League, with more teams building from the back and prioritizing positional play. And it's not just tactics. Pep's coaching tree might be the most impressive of his generation. Xavi at Barcelona, Arteta at Arsenal, Nagelsmann at Germany, Ten Hag at Manchester United, Xabi Alonso at Leverkusen. They all borrow from Guardiola's playbook. His ideas are now football's common language, shaping the very DNA of the modern game. But there's a flip side. Guardiola's relentless intensity comes at a cost. His demanding style, both in training and on match day, has been linked to squad fatigue and performance drop-offs, especially late in his tenures. At City, rotation became a necessity as injuries piled up, like in the 2024-25 season when key players missed significant time and Pep endured his first-ever five-game losing streak as a manager. He's been here before, both at Barcelona and Bayern. His later seasons were marked by mental and physical burnout among players. Even Pep himself admitted after City's struggles, it doesn't work like it worked in the past, acknowledging the toll of fatigue and the evolving demands of the game. And then there's the question of pressure. Guardiola's regular season dominance is historic. 71.6% win rate in the Premier League, 74% across 600-plus games, record points, goals, and streaks. But in Champions League knockouts, the story changes. He's reached multiple semifinals and a final with City, but has also exited early despite being the favorite. Guardiola built dominant teams at Barcelona, Bayern, and Manchester City, but always with significant financial backing. His model relies on tactical innovation, deep squad depth, and continuous high investment. A formula that has delivered sustained success, but only in environments where resources are abundant. Critics argue that this approach remains largely untested in more constrained, budget-limited settings. In contrast, Sir Alex Ferguson established a dynasty at Manchester United through youth development, adaptability, and a resilient club culture, maintaining dominance for nearly 3 decades while frequently refreshing his squads without always outspending rivals. Carlo Ancelotti, meanwhile, is celebrated for his adaptability and expert man management, though he is less associated with building long-term dynasties at a single club due to his frequent moves across Europe's elite teams. Jose Mourinho has specialized in rapid, short-term success, winning major honors quickly, but often at the cost of long-term stability and sometimes leading to burnout in shorter tenures. Jurgen Klopp, on the other hand, has focused on cultural transformation and efficient resource use, building sustainable success stories at both Borussia Dortmund and Liverpool, even when working with more limited resources. Guardiola's legacy, while glittering with trophies, has not been without controversy. Manchester City, under his leadership, has faced 115 charges of alleged breaches of Premier League financial rules, including accusations of inflating sponsorship deals and hiding payments. Although Guardiola has consistently denied any wrongdoing, the shadow of these financial fair play allegations continues to spark debate. His personal history is not untouched. Either as a player in Italy, he tested positive for nandrolone, a result for which he was later cleared on a technicality, though the episode still lingers in public memory. Inside Manchester City, rumors persist of a closed management circle dominated by ex-Barcelona executives, fueling speculation about preferential treatment and internal politics. On the field, Guardiola has sometimes been criticized for tactical rigidity, with detractors pointing to an over-reliance on resources and a tendency toward predictability in high-stakes matches. Off the pitch, his outspoken support for Catalan independence has drawn fines and accusations of double standards regarding political activism. Other managerial greats carry their own baggage. Sir Alex Ferguson, for example, was renowned for his total control over club affairs and remarkable adaptability. But he was also infamous for exerting pressure on referees and manipulating the media. Carlo Ancelotti, in contrast, is widely respected and has largely avoided major controversies throughout his career. Jose Mourinho built a reputation on public spats, his trademark "US v's them" mentality, and often turbulent, short-lived tenures. Meanwhile, Jurgen Klopp is praised for his charisma and transformative team building. Yet even he has faced criticism for his touchline behavior and outspoken comments. When evaluating managerial performance through statistical analyses, specifically performance relative to resources, the picture grows more nuanced. Studies examining cost per point or trophy consistently reveal that while financial resources are a powerful predictor of success, managers like Sir Alex Ferguson and Jurgen Klopp have historically outperformed financial expectations, extracting more value from less investment. In contrast, Guardiola's impressive achievements largely align with the substantial resources at his disposal. From a return on investment perspective, Guardiola's teams have delivered exceptional results on the pitch, but the bar is set higher for him precisely because of the scale of investment involved. Pure benchmarking reinforces this view. When compared to managers with access to similar financial firepower, Guardiola's record remains outstanding. However, critics often point to the absence of a true underdog triumph in his career as a lingering question mark, highlighting that his greatest successes have come with football's most privileged clubs. Clips, big money signings, club budgets, underdog stories. VO. It's not just about tactics or trophies. Context matters. Pep's teams have always been stacked. Messi and Iniesta at Barcelona, Lewandowski and Robben at Bayern, De Bruyne and Haaland at City. His detractors will say, of course you win when you always have the best players and the fattest transfer budgets. But his fans are quick to fire back. You can buy players, but you can't buy a style. Pep's football is an art form, not just a shopping spree. Guardiola has always managed clubs with elite financial resources. Barcelona, Bayern, and especially City, where the depth is so great he can field 2 world-class starting Incs. City's net spend and wage bill have topped the league for years. His teams routinely feature international stars and outspend almost every rival. Compare that to managers like Simeone at Atletico, Klopp at Dortmund, or Pochettino at Spurs, who broke domestic duopolies and reached Champions League finals on far smaller budgets. Yet even when you account for resources, statistical models show that Pep's teams still outperform expectations, suggesting his impact isn't just due to big spending, it's additive. Pep Guardiola's record is extraordinary in terms of trophies, tactical innovation, and the dominance of his teams. However, scrutiny reveals that his achievements have always come with the backing of the richest clubs and the highest wage bills in their respective leagues. Unlike Ferguson, Mourinho, or Klopp, Guardiola has never built a dynasty on a shoestring budget or led a true underdog to glory. His legacy is thus often debated. Is he a genius who maximizes resources, or a manager whose success is inseparable from financial power? The answer likely lies somewhere in between, but the lack of an underdog triumph remains the most significant gap in his otherwise glittering CV. Pep Guardiola's legacy is a complex blend of tactical genius, transformative influence, and the undeniable advantage of managing football's richest clubs. His innovations have shaped the modern game and inspired a generation of coaches, but his intensity can burn out squads, and his record under pressure isn't flawless. The debate, genius or perfect storm, remains open, and the numbers show both sides have a case. Let's face it, the Guardiola debate isn't black and white. Is he the greatest because he's redefined how football is played, or has he just ridden the wave of super teams? Are trophies and win rates everything, or does context matter more? What about you? Where do you stand? Is Pep Guardiola truly the best to ever do it, or is his legend overhyped by circumstance? Smash that like button, drop your hottest take in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more fiery football debates. Next up, Ferguson versus Guardiola. Who built the bigger dynasty? Don't miss it.